Hey folks, welcome back to the Lone Pine Tarot, or of course, welcome to the channel if you're new here. I am super excited to announce that today we're doing our very first Akashic Records reading video on Lone Pine Tarot, and so I've been kind of thinking about doing one of these for a while. I love working with the Akashic Records, and I think today's reading is especially important because I asked our spirit teams collectively, could you just come forward and give us what's the most vital, important information for us to know from the Akashic Records at the time all of you view this video. That is what I set as the intention, and so I think this should be a pretty exciting, if not helpful, type of reading for you to view today. So, of course, though, first we have to pull our pile leaders to pick the piles with, so let's do that right now. There we go. I'm not always the best about shuffling giant oracle decks, but we'll see. There we go. Perfect shuffle. I spoke too soon. Okay. And now our pile leaders. Okay, that one for sure will be pile 1. That wanted to pop out quite vigorously is the word I'll use. Okay, there's pile 1, and then pile 2 for sure is that one I'm feeling. And I think I'll take this one up here for pile 3. Okay, so let's unveil the cards, my lovely pile 1, 2, 3s. For pile 1s, your card is Knights of the Round Table, number 18. Let their love lift you higher. Okay, that was pile 1s. I'm just going to set that one down a bit further here. Put that over here. For pile number 2s, we have number 32, make the grade with flying colors. And it says, remember, you signed up for this. There we go. We're actually going to set it more like that. Perfection. And pile number 3s, we have number 15, build in breaks, saunter slowly. So just to reiterate, for pile 1s, we have Knights of the Round Table. For pile 2s, we have Make the Grade with Flying Colors. And for pile 3s, we have Build in Breaks. Of course, you are always welcome to pause on this particular section of the video if you need more time to decide with your intuition what pile you would like read for you today. But either way, whenever you are ready to hear your Akashic Record reading, you can drop down to the description box or the timestamp below the video. Click on the timestamp there for your reading, and I'll see you in our discussion about important information that your guides want you to know from the Akashic Records today. See you there. Hello there, my awesome pile number 1s. Welcome to your important insights from the Akashic Record reading for today. As you recall, your pile leader you chose was number 18, Knights of the Round Table. Let their love lift you higher. So we're going to set your pile leader over here next to the pine cone, as is our tradition, on the left. Okay. And then I'm going to draw all of your cards on screen right now. So first up from your oracle decks. Okay, Akashic Record Insights. Let's see more about you, pile number 1s. Now, anything really could pop out here. Sometimes Akashic Record readings talk about past lives. Sometimes they talk about your present life. Sometimes even future events. Because, like I said, I set the intention asking, what's the most important thing that your guides want you to know from the Akashic Records right now? So, we'll see what pops out. Maybe even multiple things. We'll see. Okay, well, that one for sure. Okay. And then our last but not least final oracle deck here. Let's see, I feel that one right there for you, pile number 1s. And then we're going to pull, of course, tarot cards. So, spirit team, for pile number 1s, could you give us around 5 tarot cards that explains more about the message you want them to hear from information from the Akashic Records today? Thank you. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 4. And I feel like that one back there for you, pile number 1's for 5. Okay. Now, of course, the most fun part is unveiling the cards themselves. So let's see what they offered for you today. So from your surrender card, you received surrender your fear of change. And I'll just read what it says down here. The universe is reminding you that you are cared for always, whether you're afraid of a change in your job, your health, or a relationship, or if you fear aging or death, repeat the affirmation, I have faith that all is well. And we have a figure who is riding on a white horse here towards the sunset, it looks like. Which, when you think about it, sunsets and or sunrises are kind of nature's symbolism of change, right? Oopsie. Forgot the card was back there. So we'll put this over here. Okay. Then your Citadel Oracle for today is the Chiromancer with the element of water. We have palmistry, basically. Delivering news, collaboration. I get the sense some of you, pile number 1's, if not most of you, are probably pretty tuned into astrology or palmistry, reading palms, things like that. Of course, that can extend to other psychic and spiritual abilities like, mediumship. What are some other things? Like astral projection, things like, I'm sorry, it's slipping my mind right now. The word for, like hearing and seeing and clairaudience, okay, and clairvoyance, things like that. Those are the words. I was thinking of the clairs, right? And definitely, too, with the presence of a lot of purple already, being like the color, of course, of your pile leader, I get the sense that you are very psychic people, or at least very attuned to the other side, pile number 1's. So that's definitely something that's popping out here right away for me intuitively. That could even be a part of your life path that your spirit guides want to talk to you about today, is leaning into those gifts more, okay? Especially maybe where it comes to addressing other people's fear of change. Especially like when I first pulled out that card, if you're finding like, I don't have a fear of change, what are you talking about? Intuitively, I'm being told, pile number 1's, that it might be useful for you to help address that fear in others, okay? So for example, people who have a fear of death, or, maybe they're really grieving after having lost a loved one, well, the gift of mediumship, of course, for example, speaking to the dead, can help that fear of change, that fear of transition after life into death, okay? That's just an example of what I'm talking about. Not that necessarily has to be the path that you take, but that's kind of what I'm saying is like, just one path you could potentially take if that's something that draws you in. Of course, we'll see maybe some more other information from the other cards that pop out. Of course, I don't want to go on that tangent for too long because we haven't even revealed everything, but I definitely get strong psychic spiritual vibes off of this pile for you, pile number 1's, okay? And then we have new beginnings. Remember I was just talking about like sunsets and sunrises, like dawn and dusk? You literally have that twice here as symbolism, pile number 1's, okay? So there is definitely a lot in your life about either helping yourself through times of massive change as a part of a life lesson that your spirit team wants to talk to you about, and or helping others through times of new beginning and endings, okay? You almost make me think of... it's very odd, but I think of like a farmer, because oftentimes what a farmer does, right, is someone who ushers in the beginning of something by planting seeds, but they're also someone who harvests and reaps at the end of the growing season, okay? And so I don't know, maybe even you grew up in a farming family, or you grew up in like a rural area where you saw a lot of farms around you, okay? That might have been part of your life path too, is to kind of really be attuned from a young age into understanding and seeing a physical example of that life cycle right in front of you, of nature's change of life and death and rebirth again after the season is over with, okay? But yeah, just definitely it's a very, very massive repeated symbolism here in the Akashic Record reading we're getting today for you. So yeah, this is really cool. I love when I see shared symbolism like that too. I also see, because of the Knights of the Round Table that you chose as your pile leader over here, there's a lot about like a communal aspect of working together on a team. So I don't know if maybe you're drawn to working with other people in like group situations regarding like spiritual abilities or spirituality in general. Or maybe that's part of that service-oriented thing I was seeing with you helping other people understand and process life's inevitable change, be it through, new birth or through death, things like that. But yeah, like a community-oriented person as well. Even if you're an introvert, pile number ones, introverts can be of service too, maybe in more indirect ways, like, of course, like if you're an extrovert, you can be someone who's like very outgoing and you talk to people a lot. But of course, I mean, I've seen outgoing extroverted psychic people. I've met them before, but I do tend to see a lot of introverted psychic people as well. I think it kind of comes with the territory most of the time. Just as someone who maybe is sensitive, someone who is maybe a little bit more quiet because you're so attuned to the other side most of the time. Someone who kind of walks the line between the veil, I guess I would call it. So that too can also be a symbolism of dawn and dusk being times of transition and times of change. I think I had a previous reading a while back about spiritual abilities. It was like a few weeks ago. And if I remember correctly, there was a pile in that reading, if you viewed it, that was very similar to you. So I almost wonder if some of you who watched that video and watching this one might be the same exact people, but you're what I call line walkers. You're people who are very good at navigating this world, but also the other world, okay? Or the other side, I guess is how we usually call it, right? So once again, I think of mediums. I think of maybe people who are good at astral projection, because that's another way of being really good about transitioning between worlds, okay? Definitely, too, I tend to see people like this as people who have lived a lot of incarnations already, like you're an old soul is the word that we typically use, or the term, I should say. Yeah, beautiful. Sorry, I haven't even gotten to your tarot cards yet, but there was so much intuitively popping out there that I wanted to talk about. And this, your tarot cards might be more about the specific message regarding these things. So let's unveil those right now. We have the Queen of Cups reversed, okay? Might have to do something when we're talking about like healing other people's hurts, because the Queen of Cups is the master of the heart, okay? Master of emotions. Let's unveil more, though, before I say for sure. And I apologize if cards do cover others with my limited space here, but you can always rewind and look at other cards if you'd like to peer at them longer. Okay. Especially when I use bigger tarot decks like this. And then we have the Two of Cups reversed. Okay, so that's about severed relationships. We'll talk about that more in a second. Severed relationships between people who are here and people who already passed on could be one interpretation. I know we talked about that before. We have the Fool reversed. Okay, so literally like not even a new beginning for you. Sometimes I see the Fool reversed in readings with people who, once again, are old souls. This is not new to you. Okay, I feel like you're, honestly, you feel like the type of soul that reincarnated here, not for yourself as much. Of course, there are still things you can learn, pile number ones. There's a lot in being a teacher, right? But I feel like you mostly reincarnated to help other people that are still, as a spiritualist pastor I used to know would say, she'd call it, people who aren't as advanced on the spiritual growth ladder is the exact term she would use. So you're more advanced, I'm seeing here in your reading. And so I think you help others with their lessons that you've already learned as a soul, okay? And then we have, another queen, but the Queen of Swords reversed. Interesting. Two, it makes me think it's interesting because you got Cups and the Queen of Swords. So it's like those two different worlds once again, because Cups are emotions and the Swords are like logic and the mind. We'll talk about that more. And then we have the Four of Cups reversed, paying attention to things. Yeah, the things that other people sleep on, the things that other people don't notice, pile number ones. You're very attuned to the things that other people don't notice. So I almost want to say to your spirit team, I know we've talked a lot about your spiritual abilities, and so this reading is not necessarily just about those, okay? It's an Akashic record reading, so there's other things that will pop out here in our... but in extension of that, I think even the way it manifests in your life with that Four of Cups reversed especially is... I get the feeling that they're lauding you and they're really wanting to point out something about the way that you notice things, because the Four of Cups reversed I see as a person who is, they don't have their eyes closed. Their eyes are always, I should say your third eye technically is always open. I feel like you read people really well, and or that is a skill that you're meant to develop here in this particular life. Maybe it's even something that you're dealing with right now at the time you're viewing this reading, as to maybe that's why this particular information is coming out right now to you, because it could be that maybe you're dealing with someone in your life right now where you're really trying to read their intentions and you're like, I'm not sure if I should trust this person. Or maybe it could be that you know someone and their truth, but then someone else you know that you care about is not seeing the truth about that person because they're not quite as perceptive as you. So that particular thing might manifest in a different way. Since this is a general reading, everyone's going to be just a bit different, but at least that's what I'm seeing right there with that particular card. Yes, Old Soul, we already talked about that for sure. They really just want to emphasize too that you are I think intuitively there's a message coming out here where there's also an area of your life where I'm feeling like you feel very new to something, or you feel like you're not ready or kind of inexperienced. And I think one of the reasons they're really emphasizing you as an old soul and as like a teacher type role, pile number ones, is because they want you to understand, well, A, how much you've already been through. Like, this isn't new for you, and maybe you even kind of know that already, depending on how much you've already tapped into the Akashic Records yourself, of course. But number two, though, it's like they want to remind you you can handle this thing that you're kind of afraid of, or that you're maybe feel like you're too new to, or you're not ready for, pile number ones, okay? So if there's any area of your life right now where you feel like you're not ready for it, like I was saying, it's almost maybe a fear of change in yourself, okay, as to how it might manifest for some of you. They're saying you're ready, pile number one. So whatever you're worried about in that area, I would say that's an encouragement to step forward and go for whatever that massive change is that you have been maybe a little bit worried about, especially when it comes to things that you're worried about because you feel like you're inexperienced, or maybe it's even kind of a feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough for that either, like that sort of like lack of belief in self. They really want you to believe in yourself more. And it's kind of funny because that's a message that's been popping out a lot lately in like all of my readings I've been recording and stuff like that, and readings I've done for other people too. Like, it's very interesting because it feels like that's a collective message that keeps kind of coming through. I don't know if that's just something everyone's collectively working through together, is believing in self more like this month for some particular reason. But yeah, that for sure is coming out here in this reading for you. Two, pile number ones, I feel like it's very interesting because you have the Two of Cups reversed. I feel like, too, they want to emphasize that you're a teacher-mentor role in your relationships a lot, especially in relationships that haven't worked out in this particular life of yours. It could be even like a past life thing where a lot of the romantic relationships you've gotten into with people in this particular life have been people that you've encountered in past lives, and you're meeting them again in this life to teach them lessons, okay? Once again, I just see you as like a massive teacher figure to a lot of souls here on Earth, okay? If I had to summarize you literally in one word, I'd call you like a mentor, okay? Especially in the realm of the heart and relationships here, with the Fool reverse being next to the Two of Cups reverse, it's like your old hat at relationships, but I think because you have had to, part of your role has been teaching other people about relationships, it might seem like a lot of your relationships haven't worked out, pile number ones, but what they're telling me is it feels like a lot of them haven't worked out because they were almost kind of supposed to not work out, because those were things that yes, you learned from the other people in those relationships, right? It's always a two-way street, but at the same time, I think the main purpose most of the time for you is you teach others about things regarding especially love, I'm seeing, but this can manifest in platonic relationships as well. And so you're very service oriented as a soul. You're very, maybe that even manifests in your particular job right now, pile number ones, or at least careers that you're drawn to. I see someone that is very service oriented. I see someone maybe even works in times of transition and change in people's lives here, like we were talking about before. I think of like a hospice nurse or working in hospice. Like, that's a time of change. Or maybe you work in maternity, helping usher in new change and new life into the earth. Or like, oh, I'm sorry, the name is slipping me right now. oh, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. It'll come to me, but people not necessarily that work in a hospital setting, but they help mothers deliver babies at home. Oh God, I'm gonna feel really stupid for not remembering the name later, but that type of thing. You help transitions, or maybe you even help people like with transitions in like their housing, or you help people with transitions in maybe even like the exchange of money, things like that. But it tends to be either like the sunsetting of things or the sunrise or like the dawn of things. Okay, that seems to be like your wheelhouse. Okay. Yeah, and I think maybe that's also why, especially if you're drawn to things like hospice, that's a lot where your psychic abilities come in, maybe even like with mediumship, because, I mean, maybe that's why you were drawn to it in the first place, is because you had experiences with the near dying or those who have already passed that kind of reawakened your soul in this incarnation to remember your spiritual abilities and to remember the truth of life after death. And so I feel like even as like your main materialistic earthbound career, like that's something that you are very attuned to. Okay. Even though it might not be necessarily all of your careers, I feel like even in your personal relationships, though, you're a very good listener. You're someone who I think people turn to have, a good, wise ear to listen to them and give them advice and help them usher through times of change. Like, let's say, you have a friend who, like, their partner leaves them and they're really upset, or maybe they accidentally, like, they get kicked out of their apartment or something. You feel like the type of friend, that loyal, dependable person that is like I don't want to say necessarily go with the flow, but is more calm, and is like, hey, it's going to be okay. I'm going to be, the person you can rely on, and you help people through those times of change. I think because you are such an old soul that even when you don't recognize it at a conscious level, pile number ones, you kind of know it at an unconscious level. Beautiful reading here. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. I think I might draw some extra cards as well. I want to ask if there's like an additional message from the Akashic Records that they want you to know, because we talked a lot about, this has become more of like a life purpose related reading, maybe with a little bit of a past life influence too, but perhaps that's why it's come out, though, pile number ones. Maybe you've been questioning your purpose recently, and that's why your spirit team really wanted to come out and speak about that today. So I will ask if there is an additional message here. So spirit team for pile ones, could you give us around 3 cards that explains maybe an additional message from the Akashic Records you want them to know? Thank you. Well, I'm sorry, that's the word it was. They're called midwives, aren't they? I think they're called a midwife. See, I knew I would feel stupid later when I was like, I'm going to feel dumb when I realize what the word was. Okay. Sorry. Anyways, I remembered it well. I think they're called midwives. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but yeah, that could be another potential career that you work in, pile number ones. Or you could be like drawn to it. I also see, I just realized this, working with your hands, because you do have like the chiromancer card. It could be that maybe even you help people through times of change through the power of hands and like healing. Okay. Like I think of a masseuse, people that do, I mean, I know Reiki is, you can do an energy healing at a distance, but Reiki is another thing that comes through right here, or maybe something to at least explore if you haven't already. Okay. And then we have, the 6 of Swords reversed. We have the Ace of Wands. Beautiful. I don't know if you're considering leaving somewhere, pile number ones. And then we have, 10 of Wands reversed. Yeah. They want to talk to you about something regarding leaving somewhere to relieve a burden off of your back and renew your spark and your passion. Okay. Because literally the 6 of Swords reversed is like, should I stay or should I go? Leaning towards staying. Ace of Wands is like a new spark of inspiration or passion about something. And then the 10 of Wands reversed is like letting go of a burden. Okay. They want to say, intuitively, I feel like, I'm sorry, one moment of silence. I'm also just going to take a drink here while I'm getting the intuitive message in for my voice, but, Oh, that's what it is. Okay. I'm sorry. It took me a second. They're telling me, pile number ones, that part of your life purpose in this life, and maybe you even struggled with it in past lives too, is knowing when to leave a bad situation before it impresses too much of a burden on you. I don't know if you tend to linger at, like, say, bad jobs too long or in bad relationships too long. I mean, I know a lot of people kind of struggle with that because, you know, we always think, oh, the devil we know is better than the devil we don't, right? But I feel like maybe this is an important message for you to hear right now. It could be that maybe you're currently dealing with this type of decision, okay? Like, should I leave this thing behind? Should I let go of this burden? And they're telling me here, because it is a life purpose or a lesson that you're meant to learn. Once again, it's a time of transition. Remember, we were just talking about all the transitional and, like, change-related themes you have here, okay? In your own life, you've learned how to usher in transition and change, and especially for other people, I think that's part of your purpose. But right now, there's some message about you need to make a change yourself, or at least you're being guided to. Of course, you have free will. You can always kind of just toss out what I say in a reading. You don't have to do what a tarot reading tells you or what your spirit team tells you to do, pile number ones. But for the purposes of making your life easier with that Ten of Wands reversed, of releasing burdens, right? And in terms of renewing your spark and your vigor, they're saying it would be powerful, is the word coming to mind, for you to choose to relieve your burden at this time to help usher you through this life lesson of leaving before you're even more tired and worn out from this particular situation, okay? So for some of you, that might manifest in a job. Some of you might manifest in a relationship. Some of you might, even as simple as something as a hobby you tried, and every time you try it, you're frustrated, and you're like, I really want to keep working at it, but maybe it's just not for you. I mean, it could be something as simple as that, pile number ones. But I would say you're being encouraged towards the leaving it behind and going and doing something different, okay? For those of you who are concerned about something in your life right now along those lines, okay? Let's see if there's any other messages here. I believe I covered everything. So as always, pile number ones, I hope that reading was helpful for you. If you liked it, if it resonated, please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already and you would like to. That just helps me out, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading, pile number ones. Bye. Hello there, my awesome pile number twos. Welcome to your pick a card reading today on the topic of important Akashic Record insights for you to know at this time. Of course, as you recall, your pile leader you chose was number 32, Make the Grade with Flying Colors, with the tagline, remember, you signed up for this. So I'm going to set this over here next to the pine cone as our first tradition. Of course, our second tradition on the channel is drawing our cards right now. So let's pull out the Oracle decks to gain our Akashic Record insight reading. Like I said, I'm very excited for this reading today. I should do more Akashic Record readings if you ask me, but okay, definitely that one right there for you, pile twos. Then we have the Citadel Oracle. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you like Akashic Record readings. I've never done one before on the channel, like I said, so. Okay, well, there's two that came out for sure. So you got two today. Oh boy, you got three. I lied. You know, it's actually funny because pile number one's got this one too. If you were drawn to pile number ones, I would suggest checking out just because you both got Chiromancer. Wow, you got a lot of cards. Ambitious folk. There we go. At least it seems like that from your cards. You know, I even see that too with Make the Grade with Flying Colors, though. Because that particular phrase is about people who really go above and beyond pile number twos, and that kind of is the energy I'm getting from you. I don't know if maybe you kind of feel like a failure sometimes. I mean, I know we all do at times. It's it's a pretty universal human thing, but at the same time, maybe you're struggling right now with feeling like a failure at something, or maybe you made a mistake and you're kind of worried about it. And your spirit team really just wants to reassure you, pile number 2, is that, well, A, they're proud of you. They're always proud of you, of course, but B, that you are succeeding in ways that you don't necessarily recognize. Okay. So, yes, let's reveal your cards, although, spoiler alert, you already saw 3 of them, but your surrender card for today is, we have, looks like Big Ben. Surrender to divine timing. Sometimes divine timing may differ from your ego's timing. If a goal isn't manifesting fast enough, according to your ego, be patient and trust the universal flow. So remember I was talking about, like, maybe you feel like a failure? Maybe you're feeling like, why isn't this thing happening fast enough? Why isn't it going quicker? Okay. And they're saying it's not necessarily a failure on your part, pile number 2. It's more so divine timing related reasons. Okay. I also, too, because of the abundance of, well, actually, before I say that, let's reveal this card right here. Yeah, okay, water and then blue. Your sacred destiny is illumination. Because of the abundance, and this is what I was going to say before, but the abundance of blue cards, it makes me think of the throat chakra. And that tells me, as a person, pile number 2, or at least throughout your incarnations, you seem to be someone who is, well, either struggles with speaking or someone who is very good at speaking. I almost wonder if you're an air sign, potentially, okay? Of course, like, not to be biased because I'm a Gemini sun myself, but Gemini sun kind of comes to my mind with this particular reading, or maybe Gemini is prominent in your chart. Of course, there are other air signs like Aquarius and Libra, but yeah. Then we have the hunter, sure-footedness, predestination. Remember I was talking about, like, you're like, oh, eyes on the prize, ambition, okay? Because a hunter, you know, especially when they use a bow, right? There's someone who is very focused on, or even when they use a rifle, they're very focused on aiming for a particular target, and that feels like you, pile number 2s. I don't know if you're, like, business people, perhaps, or you have been in a lot of lives before. Maybe that's kind of part of what your spirit team wants to touch on with your Akashic record reading today. Okay, I'm going to try to fit everything on the screen here. Apologize if it's a little cramped, though, because you did have 3 cards come out. And then we do have the Chiromancer with the element of water, delivering news and collaboration. And I'll read it the same way I read it for pile number 1s. This gives me the feeling that you're someone who is probably very spiritually attuned, being that this is like a palmistry type imagery. Or, well, reading palms, right? And that makes me think of someone who is very psychic or has some of the clairs, okay, maybe clairaudience, clairvoyance, things like that. We'll see what comes out more, too, with your tarot cards, but then, okay, and then you have the Waker with fire, awareness, and reflection. Definitely gives me probably someone who has clairvoyance abilities, especially because the eye makes me think of the third eye, right? Third eye chakra. Someone who is open to the universe's truths. Someone who is very aware of things, okay? Perhaps, just like pile number 1s, you're probably very perceptive people, pile number 2s, okay? Beautiful. Very ambitious, okay? You're go-getters. I mean, kind of give me some earth energy, too. I want to say Taurus as well. I don't know, maybe like your Gemini sun, Taurus moon, or the opposite is kind of the feeling I'm getting off of you. That, or you tend to have a lot of air and earth signs in your astrological charts. Yeah. Air and earth. So kind of opposed almost, but it works. Kind of canceling out the flaws of each other, right? Beautiful. Yep, and a good speaker, too, like I was saying, with all this blue energy. I know we have your tarot cards to draw, too. Yeah, I haven't even drawn your tarot cards yet. I've been just so focused on everything that popped out already, but I will do that right now, and as I draw them, maybe I can, we'll see if anything else intuitive pops out for you, pile 2s, but look at you. I'm also getting starseed vibes off of you. I'll be curious if the star comes out, but we'll see. Spirit team for pile number 2s, could you give us around 5 cards or so explaining more about the message you want them to hear from the Akashic Records today? Okay, there's 1. Oh boy, well I can't take 50 cards. I'm going to shuffle that again. Sorry for the delay there. We got 1, and then a million wanted to come out. Yeah, I don't know. Are you kind of impatient as well, pile number 2s? Like the impatient type? Maybe even you're watching this reading right now, like, come on, get to the point. Kind of feels that way. But impatience isn't always necessarily a bad thing, because that means you're someone who is usually pretty quick to solve problems when they pop out. I keep seeing the game like whack-a-mole. Like, as soon as a problem pops out, you're there with the hammer, like, I'm gonna fix this. Very organized people, which makes me think of Virgo too, of course, but let's see, 3, 4, which is an earth sign, like I said, and number 5. Okay. There we go. Now we got all the cards out. But yeah, I do see starseed vibes off of you as well. Because you are an advanced soul, like pile number 1's here, pile number 2's, but I feel like they felt more like they've lived a lot of earth incarnations, and you feel more like starseed out there vibes, and I mean that in a positive way, out there, but beautiful. Okay. We have the 7 of Cups reversed. Okay. What's a good dream? What's a good path to follow? What isn't? Good choices. Okay. Maybe you have too many ambitions. I don't know. We have, okay, the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Maybe you've had some bad luck recently. Maybe that's part of, it's been plaguing you a little bit. You're kind of wondering maybe what drew you to the reading. Bad luck with choices. We have the 9 of Pentacles. Okay, the fruits of our labor. Yep. You're feeling like a failure, aren't you? Like I was saying. You're not. But you might feel like it. You know, you almost kind of feel like those people too, where you ever meet those people who, like, they're really ambitious and they do really well and they're really good at a lot of different things, but they still think they're not good enough. Like I don't want to say like they're perfect pile number 2's, or I'm not saying that like you're necessarily perfect, but you give me the vibes of that kind of person who's like, oh, I'm so bad at these things, but actually you're really like talented when you don't think you are. Yeah, that's kind of the vibes I'm getting off of you. It's a positive thing, right? And then 3 of Wands. I'm telling you, ambitious people. I feel like you've had a past, I want to say multiple past lives actually, where you have been very successful in business, and I think that's why it's popping up for you now. And maybe part of the lesson you might be learning right now, pile number 2's, and then you have 2 of Swords reversed. Okay, part of the lesson you might be learning right now, pile number 2's, is because you've had so much financial business success in past lives that now that you've hit a bit of a bump in this particular life, it's kind of jolted your soul into like, okay, well, what the heck do I do now? Like, this is new territory for me. Like I was saying, you feel like one of those people that and I say this like affectionately and in a positive way, but one of those people who is really, really good at things and they never think that they're good enough. Like, you can be really successful. Like, let's say you have a really nice home and a really successful business and you're really multi-talented, and then it's still at the same time, it's like, oh, it's not enough. I need to be better. I need to be like, I mean, not to quote Pokemon in a tarot reading, but you're like, I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. And I feel like recently maybe you've fallen down on some bad luck with that Wheel of Fortune reversed. And this being an Akashic record reading, it tells me that that was kind of meant to be pile number 2's. Not to make you suffer, but there's some sort of lesson to be extracted here about, I mean, because if you've lived a lot of lives, like I was saying, where you have been very successful in business, and I think that's why you're so dang ambitious here, you're someone who is, I want to say you're almost like that archer, like that hunter archetype we were talking about. Someone who knows how to draw the bow back and knows exactly where to aim. Like, it almost kind of seems like part of your sixth sense pile number 2 is not just like spiritual, but also a sixth sense in the material world, okay? And or if you haven't done anything like that yet in this particular life, pile number 2 is, I'm telling you, you would be very, very good about having your own business, okay? So any dreams you have in that area, go for it. But like I'm saying, like this recent drawback or this recent what feels like a failure or a mistake, like I said, was like it was meant to happen, and you feel like you made the wrong choice there with that 7 of Cups reversed, but really it's a lesson to be learned to propel you into what's how the best way to put that, I don't want to repeat myself. I was going to say even greater greatness, but that's kind of redundant, you know what I mean? Even greater heights, there you go, that's a lot better. In the future with business, now that you'll learn more of a lesson about how to pick up again after falling down, okay? It kind of feels like it was a slap in the face to you because you're like, well, it always worked before. Even at an unconscious level, pile number 2 is where, I mean, maybe you as a soul underneath, maybe not consciously, but underneath you realize, dang, I'm usually so good at manifesting things on the earthly plane. Like, what gives? Okay. But it was meant to be, and it's teaching you a lesson in succeeding despite the odds. Like, you kind of give me an underdog vibe as well, pile number 2s, not just in this life, but in a lot of the lives that you've lived that are coming through here in the Akashic Records for you. Yeah, it's like, especially with that illumination card too, it's like a lot of the lives you've lived so far have been so good at one side of living, even some of maybe the starseed lives that you've had. So good at that side of living, and now it's like you've entered this mirror world, like with the reflection of the lake here in illumination, the intuition I'm getting off of that is like, now it feels like opposite world, and maybe you'll feel very much like you don't, like, I don't know if you feel like you don't fit in your body, or you feel like you don't fit on Earth. Like, I know a lot of starseed people tend to feel that in general. They feel like, oh, I'm a square peg in a round hole. What the heck am I doing here, right? But at the same time, it's like, there's something very, very valuable to be extracted in living your life here on Earth, pile 2s, in terms of, I mean, I think too, maybe you help inspire other people that maybe have not been as successful as you in the area of business or career that you're in. But like, you're beyond that now, where you're still a mentor role to other people, but at the same time, you feel to me like you've graduated to the next step of, okay, now I've had success. Now, let's try getting success with even more obstacles and hazards in the way, okay? Like, you not that you had it easy before in other lives, of course. No life is completely easy, but it's like now you've graduated from, okay, it's like when you play a video game and you try, like, maybe the easy mode, and you're like, okay, I played through the game of life through easy mode, at least comparatively speaking, and now you're like, I'm going to try, like, the ultra hardcore survival mode with this particular life, and it's made you very tough, pile number 2s, and especially right now, I feel like this is something that you're specifically struggling with, which is why they wanted you to connect to this Akashic Record message today, okay? Yeah, and like literally even the Make the Grade with Flying Colors card you picked says, remember, you signed up for this. I mean, not that that's fun to hear, because while you're living through it in your life, I mean, I kind of almost wonder too, like, when we plan our lives beforehand and we know the struggles that we're going to go through, what gives us the urging or the power just to go through knowing what we're going to live through in our lives? It takes a lot of strength, right, to incarnate, especially if you've been a starseed, pile number 2s, incarnating on Earth, which, as we know, is a very dense energy type place, okay, to put it lightly, right? Not that we don't love Earth, of course, but it is, I mean, it literally is incarnating on the hardcore survival mode, okay? We all know this, and so, yeah, you took the tough route, but you're doing it. Even if it feels like you're failing right now, pile number 3, or, sorry, I said 3s. Pile 2s. Let's break. Even if it feels like you're failing right now, pile number 2s, you're not, okay? You're actually doing really, really well. Even if it feels like you made a mistake or you've had a setback or a drawback, right? Yeah, they're really, really reassuring you of that. This is meant to be, and look at your pile leader. You're making the grade with flying colors, okay? And even to having the 9 of Pentacles after the Wheel of Fortune reversed is like a complete reversal of fortune. So I would say, keep going on the path you're going on. If you've been struggling in some sort of area of your life right now, pile 2s, as hard as it might be, you're well on your way to extracting the fruits of your labor here and going forward with plans that you've made with the future, which that's what the 3 of Wands is all about. Someone who's already packed and they're ready for a journey. They've already plotted their itinerary and they're like, okay, I'm ready to go forward. Okay, that time is coming. It's just right now you're working through that life lesson of getting up after a setback. And then that 2 of Swords reversed at the end is very interesting, because that also has to do with choices. Now, the 7 of Cups usually is about more like dreams that we choose, okay? The 2 of Swords is more about like hard decisions, the way at least I personally read it. So reversed, it's like indecision. I want to say, having come after the 3 of Wands, it's either that you were so shaken by this setback that you're almost questioning if you should still go on this path, or it's like after you overcome this trial and this hardship, you're going to be pressed to making a decision. Like, it's almost so much of an abundance after this hardship that you're like, okay, well, now I have this, and I have this, and I have this success. Which one do I go on? It's almost like an overflow of options, whereas before maybe it felt like you didn't have any, okay? Which is also part of your life path, too, is especially having the Seven of Cups reversed come up earlier as well, because they're both about choices, pile number 2s, okay? And yeah, a lot of it, too, is about, like we were saying, surrender to divine timing over here. A lot is in the universe's hands, pile number 2s, okay? And they keep saying to me, good things come to those who wait. As hard as the waiting might be, there's something very good coming for you after this time, okay? I do want to ask, I think I have asked an extra question for everybody today, or at least I did for pile 1s. I want to do that for you as well, pile number 2s. And so I want to ask what the good thing, like what the abundance coming is, because I feel like that's something really good to delve into that would help you get through the hard times, knowing like what's ahead in the future for you. So let me ask that right now. Yeah, although I want to make sure I didn't miss anything with your other cards. I'm sorry. One moment. I'm going to look at your other cards, and then I'll make sure to ask that question with some extra tarot cards. Okay. Apologies for just a moment of silence as I ask your spirit team for more information, and then I'm also going to just take a drink for my voice, but... Oh. Yeah, you know, pile number 2s, have you also kind of dealt with a lot of persecution in your particular life? Because I think not only are you ambitious, but the hunter also intuitively is giving me a vibe of someone who has also have been the hunted, okay? I don't know if because of your... It almost feels like, to me, on an unconscious level, other people can sense that you are not necessarily a starseed, but like an advanced soul is probably the best term that I want to use. And I think your light kind of... I don't want to say it scares other people, but I feel like you have such a moral, spiritual code and such a knowing and an inner moral compass that you're so confident in that I think sometimes it scares people in a way. Like, not scary in like a horrifying, oh no, big, you know, not a horror movie, a monster's coming after me, obviously, type of scare, but like intimidating. That's probably a better word. And I think that's the problem, you know, or at least one of the major lessons of incarnating on Earth is working through the problem of humanity's tendency towards persecuting the things that which they don't understand, okay? So I don't know if you were picked on a lot as a child, okay? Maybe you just never really felt like you could fit in. Maybe you were always kind of, you know, the nerdy type, which, hello, me too. I think a lot of people drawn to spirituality tend to be, you know, the more outcast types just because... You know, I don't want to say that being into spirituality makes you necessarily an outcast, but I think, especially for souls like you, pile number 2s, your advancement kind of makes you see life at like a higher plane of reality is how I'll describe it. And I think maybe it's sometimes hard for you to relate to others or vice versa. That's hard for them to relate to you just because your soul and your mind, and once again, it just makes me think of starseeds, but your soul and your mind is on like kind of a higher wavelength in terms of perceiving the world and the meanings and the symbolism beneath it. And other people are just kind of like, huh? Like, I feel like maybe sometimes you even say things to other people that are like these philosophical, spiritual things, and then people just kind of look at you like, huh? And then they just go back to looking at, I don't know, social media on their phone or something. I mean, you know, not to diss other people, but you know, unfortunately, when you are a spiritual person, pile number 2s, you know, even if you don't necessarily explore it a lot intentionally right now, I think maybe eventually you will. But at an unconscious level, I think other souls can perceive that in you. And yeah, it's just, they can't, I want to say it's almost like your light is too bright in a good way. And when your light is bright, pile number 2s, it can cast shadows on other people's hearts, and they don't like being revealed for who they are, especially when they are being not the nicest people, okay? And so I think when you've been outcast a lot, it's really because you've intimidated people, pile number 2s. I don't think it was a flaw with you, okay? I also want to say I get, maybe in this particular incarnation, you've had some, like, neurodivergence, is, like, the term we use nowadays, you know, but that kind of means, you know, traditionally, like, people with, like, ADHD or autism or, you know, kind of insert thing here, ADD, things like that. And I feel like maybe that's also part of the extra level of, like, challenge you've lived in this particular life that you've chosen, you know, living life on, like, hardcore survival mode like we were talking about. And that, too, can sometimes make you feel like an outcast because, you know, people that aren't neurodivergent don't quite understand, you know, the way that your brain works compared to theirs, which is sad because I think as a society it would behoove us and it would be good to, you know, if people more understood the diversity of minds, okay? But they, you know, we're talking about humanity here as much as we love humanity, right? But that's part of humanity's ills, right? Is outcasting the other is a major life lesson as a species that we've gone through and we're still learning, right? So, yes. Oh, yes, and then I wanted to ask your extra question before we run out of time. So what's that abundance coming after this time of hardship that the Akashic Records wants to say to you? So 3 cards, please. Thank you, Spirit Team. Okay. We have the 4 of Swords, rest, or actually, well, it's reversed. Determination with the 9 of Wands, and ooh, lovely 9 of Cups, wishes granted. So after this time of hardship, pile number 3, or I keep calling you pile number 3s for some reason, I'm sorry, pile 2s, there we go. After this time of hardship, pile number 2s, I think the abundance that's coming, the easier times, is something about the activating with the 4 of Swords reversed of seeing through your wishes and your goals with the wishes fulfilled of the 9 of Cups. I think whatever goal you're working on, as long as you continue to work on it with the determination of the 9 of Wands, it's like that's the key with the 4 of Swords reversed, activating it and opening that door to that wish being granted with the 9 of Cups, okay? And I can't necessarily give you a time frame, although you do have a lot of 9s here in your reading. So that could mean the month of, like, September of some year, maybe next year, depending on when you watch this video, or it could also mean 9 months from now. But yeah, I mean, literally you have 9 Wands, Pentacles, and the 9 of Cups, I just realized, too. Yeah, so something about the number 9 with timing here in terms of, you know, if you're kind of wondering, okay, when is the hardship going to end? When am I going to get this abundance that you're talking about? The number 9 is important. Or it could also be the 9th of a certain month, okay? Yeah. But I do see things getting a lot better if you've been going through a hard time right now, okay? So I believe that is everything that has come out of your reading today, my ambitious pile number 2s. The ones that chose hardcore survival mode, which congrats to you for picking the hard mode, because it's not easy. You're doing good, though. You're making the grade with flying colors, remember? So, yes. All right, well, if that reading was helpful for you, pile number 2s, as always, please like, comment, or subscribe if it resonated. That just helps me out a little bit more, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading, pile number 2s. Bye. Hello there, my awesome pile number 3s. Welcome today to your Akashic Records Insight reading. Your important info your guides want you to know from the Akashic Records, of course. As you recall, your pile leader you chose was number 15, Build and Breaks, with the tagline of Saunter Slowly. So as is our custom, we'll set your pile leader over here next to the pine cone and the candle. And then we're going to draw out your cards on screen right now. So, like I said in the intro, I'm very excited today about an Akashic Record reading. So let me know in the comments down below if you like Akashic Record readings, because if so, I will probably do more of them in the future, but let's see. I'm feeling that one right there for you, pile 3s. Then let's draw from this deck. Oopsie. Sorry, this particular deck, it's got the glossy stock, so it's kind of like the cards kind of stick together a little bit. A little bit more difficult to shuffle, so it takes me more of a second to do that one. Let's see, I feel like that one for you. And then, last but not least, we have the Citadel Oracle. Definitely that one in the back there. Okay. And then, actually, I'm going to reveal your Oracle cards first, and then we'll draw your tarot cards. So first up from the Citadel Oracle, we received the Sleeper with the element of fire, cause and effect and clarity. Okay, maybe you've been dealing with... It's interesting, because with your pile leader pile 3s, you have build-in breaks, and it's like a figure who is reclining or sleeping. And then you have the Sleeper. I don't know if maybe you've been having a lot of odd dreams lately, maybe prophetic ones, maybe repeated ones, and you're kind of like, I don't know what the heck that dream is all about. Could also mean that you're very talented in terms of dream work and astral projection pile number 3s, or that would be a good area for you to explore. Or maybe something you're being in this particular life path in this incarnation. Astral projection and lucid dreaming, things like that would be a fantastic spiritual ability for you to dabble with, if you haven't already, but yeah. Fascinating. Okay, sorry I paused for a second there. And then we have surrender to receiving support and love. Here it says, allow the love and support of others in, rather than trying to handle everything yourself. This can take the pressure off and simultaneously nurture you. So another lesson from the Akashic Records that you perhaps are dealing with right now, or might be an overall theme in your life, is a lesson regarding not having to do everything yourself. Okay. Apologies if you do hear music in the background. Someone outside is going by with really loud music. Yeah, surrender to receiving support and love. Yeah, I don't know if you've had to be very independent in your life so far, pile 3s. Maybe you haven't really had a lot of success with relationships, or I don't want to say that. It's more like maybe you just haven't had a lot of people step up to help you, and so you've had to be so independent. Because I get kind of a lone soul off of you. Bit of a lone wolf, in a good way, but... Or maybe you've lived a lot of lives where you've been lonely a lot. We'll talk about that more in a second. And then we have Gateway here with a unicorn. Yeah, that too makes me wonder if you perhaps either haven't had a lot of romantic relationships in your life, or maybe you've just not been interested in them. Maybe it's kind of where the independent mind streak is kind of coming from here. Very fascinating reading pile number 3s. This is a very unique energy, is what I'm kind of feeling. Yeah, and then Gateway too. Very interesting. I'm sorry I'm so quiet. I'm going to look at those more as I draw your tarot cards, because I'm kind of fascinated here. You're intriguing me, pile 3s. So let's see. Okay, Spirit Team for pile 3s. Could you give me 5 cards explaining more about the message you would like them to hear from the Akashic Records? Thank you. Do you daydream a lot too, pile number 3s? I feel like you daydream a lot. Okay, we have the 5 of Swords, which is conflict. Okay. Conflict of the mind or the tongue. Then we have the 9 of Swords reversed. Lots of swords energy. You could be an air sign. Yeah. Overcoming anxiety. Yeah. King of Wands. Okay, so we have another fire, like your Sleeper. Confidence in self. Yeah, you know, pile 3s. I feel like you've had to be very independent because a lot of other human beings haven't been very nice to you. And I know that's not uncommon, unfortunately. I wish it was uncommon, but it isn't on our planet. But ooh, and the Knight of Swords reversed. Fascinating. I feel like you might have been having an energetic block recently in areas of your ambitions, or like anxieties holding back your confidence in some area of your life. We'll see what else pops out with the 5th card. And then we have 3 of Cups. Yeah, other people. Yeah. So pile 3s. I know, sorry, I kind of was like stream of consciousness there for a while, but things just were coming out so strongly, intuitively for your reading today. I feel like we already talked about the loner vibe that you have, or lone wolf. And when I say loner, I don't mean that in any of like a negative connotation way. I mean, you are a soul that has been meant to be very strong, standing on your own. Someone who is, I feel like you almost explore other worlds more than you're even here sometimes. I don't know. Like I was saying, I don't know if you like daydream a lot. Sometimes they even call it like maladaptive daydreaming. Maybe you are someone who's very talented too in like astral projection, things like that, because you do have the sleeper, but then you also have like literally like a unicorn and like gateway, okay? So I think of someone who is very, even like your pile leader is someone who's like reclining or sleeping. I think of you as someone who is very attuned to like the dream world and like the astral plane, things like that. And then even in like waking life, though, I feel like you're always fantasizing or daydreaming, things like that. I mean, maybe you're even a creative person because of these things. Like I know a lot of people who are very, very good at daydreaming. They've become like writers or painters, or they manifest that energy in some sort of creative passion. Maybe that's even why the King of Wands came out, because Wands and tarot is fire, which is a lot about our creativity and the things that we're passionate about, kind of what brings the spark to our soul, which of course, we think of our hobbies and things like that. Or if you haven't done that already, that would be a great avenue, and maybe part of your life path, even pile number 3 is to really invest yourself in creative hobbies that let you channel some of that dreamy, fantastical energy, okay? You almost kind of give me, it's very odd, like, I don't want to say starseed vibes. What would it be? I'm trying to think. Maybe it's some sort of variation of starseed. Feel free to chime down in the comments below, but it's some sort of energy of like beings that are very good at working with dreams in the astral plane. That might be some sort of variation of starseed. If you're wiser than me in this area, pile 3s, feel free to comment down below if you have any idea. But in either case, I feel like you've lived a lot of incarnations in that kind of plane, or like that kind of form, okay? And I think that's why you're so attuned to it here in this human incarnation, because you've already, like, you're so talented with it. You're so attuned to it, pile 3s. And I think maybe that's too why you tend to be a loner wolf and tend to isolate a lot from these particular cards. The feeling they're giving off is because it's not that you're incapable of connecting with humanity, but I think because your soul is still so connected to that other type of life that you've had in past lives that I'll use the same term I did with pile number 2, is you're like square peg in a round hole type vibes, okay? And that necessarily isn't a bad thing on Earth, because actually Earth can use some different types of souls, obviously. It's good for us to have a diversity of types of souls here. And I feel like you, especially pile number 3, is part of your purpose here on Earth, at least from the Akashic Records in this incarnation, is about opening people's eyes to possibility through the power of imagination and through the power of fantasy. I mean, you might even be interested in speculative fiction, like I want to say, like, fantasy, obviously, I'll just repeat, but then like science fiction, horror fiction, maybe you're into, things like that. I think, like, H.P. Lovecraft. I think of, what are some famous science fiction authors, like Orson Scott Card, Frank Herbert, things like that, who wrote Dune, right? Or maybe even you invest in other media that's not books necessarily, like maybe you play fantasy sci-fi video games, or maybe you watch fantasy sci-fi shows or movies, things like that. And or if you're considering a career change right now, pile number 3s, if you're considering, or maybe like if you're like, I have this hobby and I'm not sure I should take it to the next level, this is an inclination from the Akashic Records and your spirit team, go for it, okay? Like, if you've had a book idea that you've been sitting on for a long time, as hard as it sounds, finish that book, okay? I know writing a book is not easy, or maybe it's like a painting, whatever your particular hobby is, or your incarnation, the way you manifest your creative dream or energy, right? But you definitely have talent in this area, I'm just going to say. So, but yes, but part of that loner vibe, because of your otherness is the word I'll call it in a positive way. Like I was saying, is surrender to receiving support and love. I feel like, maybe it's even affected relationships with other people. Like maybe you've had to be so independent, like I was saying before, that sometimes it's hard for you to connect to other people. And it's not a flaw with you, pile number 3s. I mean, it's just that when your soul is on such a wavelength that you're not used to incarnating on Earth a lot, it can be hard to connect to humanity at times. But like I said, you are a necessary soul to Earth, okay? We need souls like yours here. Especially right now when reality can really weigh us down, when a lot of bad things are happening in the world. I mean, that is the beauty and the value of fantasy, and the beauty and value of dreams, pile number 3, is that you, at least part of your life path, I'm feeling here, is opening people's eyes to the magic of things, okay? Almost kind of like an inner child way, almost in the way that, when we look at the world as children, we see the magic in it, and we understand and we believe in the light and the whimsicality of life that can be kind of stolen from us as we grow older and more of Earth's energy kind of drags us down a bit. As beautiful as Earth can be, it does kind of tend to drag the soul down into more materialistic worries, right? Because that's just how we incarnate here. And you are a breath of fresh air, a reminder to people about believing in love, believing in light, believing in dreams, believing in magic and fantasy, those types of things, okay? I mean, you almost kind of give me, the word they want me to say to you is like wizard for some reason. Like, I want to say almost like Gandalf, kind of. I mean, that's like the most prominent wizard example you can think of, other than, of course, like Harry Potter, that type of stuff. But they're calling you a wizard, okay? Or I suppose the feminine version would be like a witch, right? But they mean like in the fantastical way of like fantasy, okay? Yeah, definitely. You are a very refreshing soul, pile number 3s. Okay, and they really want to emphasize that to you through your reading today. Because maybe you have been kind of weighed down a lot lately by the realities of Earth life. Maybe you've always wondered, why am I so isolated? Why do I feel so other from Earth and other humans, right? And that's why, because there's something very unique and special about you in terms of your soul that typically you don't find on Earth, okay? You feel, it's odd, you feel even rarer to me than like a starseed, okay? I suppose I don't know like the full numbers of starseed incarnations, I don't think anyone does, but you feel even rarer to me than starseeds for some reason. Like, there's very something oddly specific about you and your energy because of your dreamy ability, like your sleeping, astral connected type abilities. Very cool energy to tap into, though, pile number 3s. Yeah. And 2, if you have been having a specific dream repeated lately, I think this is a message from the Akashic Records and your spirit team to pay attention to whatever it's saying. If you're not sure quite how to interpret it, I always recommend like dream dictionaries, okay? Those can kind of help us with the symbolism of our minds and our dreams. Beautiful. Let's see. And then I'm going to look at your, I've been just looking mostly at your oracle cards so far. It's just so much has been popping out with your reading. I want to look at your tarot cards more here. Though we did talk about your creativity, but Yeah, with the Knight of Swords reversed too next to the Three of Cups, I think they also want to emphasize or bring a message forward about... I don't know if you had a verbal conflict with somebody recently, or like you're having a conflict with a group of people, because the Three of Cups is like social gatherings or like a group of people. But then you also have at the very beginning here the Five of Swords next to the Nine of Swords reversed, which is like an argument that caused anxiety, and your spirit team wanting to relieve it, having the card reversed with Nine of Swords, okay? And they want you to feel confident in... basically what they're saying is that in that particular argument, pile number 3s, they want you to feel confident in what you said, okay? Even if you feel like maybe you said the wrong thing, there's something about it that you were supposed to say, and with that King of Swords, it's like they're telling you to be more... stand up for yourself more. Be more confident in the way that you said it, okay? So if you've been anxious a lot recently regarding something that you said or a verbal spat that you've had, they're telling you, please release your anxiety regarding that thing. It's okay. It's good that you stood up for what you believed in here with that King of Wands, okay? And then, yeah, it's very interesting. The Knight of Swords reversed next to the Three of Cups. I'm going to look at that for just a second here. I also feel like in a lot of your lives, pile 3s, you have maybe struggled, and this is probably part of the feeling like you don't fit in type thing, but I feel like in a lot of your lives you've struggled, at least in Earth incarnations, where you have... Oh, what's the best way to put it? I'm sorry, one second. It's very oddly specific, that's why. You have struggled to speak up for yourself in group situations. That's probably, that's the way they're at least telling me to convey that to you. And so part of a life lesson you're meant to learn right now, and I think is related to what we were talking about here, about like feeling confident in whatever you said in that argument was, is overall learning to speak more and take action with your mind and logic and your tongue, okay? Communication when it comes to group situations, because... not only is it a way for you to convey a lot of that uniqueness of your spirit that's refreshing here on Earth, like I was saying, that dreamy, otherworldly energy that Earth sorely needs and other people on Earth sorely need, right? And expressing your unique frequency to other people, okay, A, that's reason number 1, but B, reason number 2 is... I feel like people tend to walk over you in conversations. Not that it's your fault, pile 3s, but part of this life lesson from the Akashic Records is learning to make people hear you more so that more of what you say is valued, at least in certain situations, okay? And I think maybe the part of that is that loner energy, that lone wolf energy, and that introversion, because unfortunately in society, a lot of times introverts kind of get walked all over in conversations. I mean, at least some of them, right? I know personally as an introvert, I've experienced that myself, so I can talk about that from experience, and I feel like that type of energy off of you, pile 3s, where you, yeah, they want you to stand up for yourself in conversations more here, okay? Yeah. Especially with that King of Wands energy right next to it. That's a life lesson for you to learn, and maybe you've struggled with it in previous incarnations too on Earth. And then 2, when I think of the color symbolism of your reading, I like to read colors, right? You have a lot of purple and pink, and that to me speaks of not only with pink being like healer, like loving energy, okay, maybe even you're empathic, okay, maybe that's part of your otherworldly kind of dreamy energy, as you really pick up on other people's emotions very well, pile 3s, but at the same time too, I feel like with a lot of purple, I tend to get people, at least when I think of like aura colors, I see that a lot in people who are psychic, people who have abilities. It kind of, honestly, it feels like every single pile today had abilities, and I know we talked about like astral projection and like dream related astral plane type things with you, but I think it might even extend beyond that with your abilities, because you give me a lot of, I want to say you're really I feel like I'm inclined to say that you're really good at seeing events of the past. Like, I know some people that are psychic are really good at seeing future, like prophetic type things. I feel like you are more inclined to being able to see clairvoyance from the past. Okay. Looking into events of the past. That's one particular Akashic record message coming out for you. For some reason, especially when I look at your pile leader where it says build and breaks and saunter slowly. 2, I wonder if you have an inclination towards being drawn to horses, because not only do you have the word saunter with your build and breaks, and I always kind of think of a saunter as like the way like a horse, walks. Of course, like, I mean, I guess stride is another word we use, but like a saunter, right? It's pace. And then you also have the Knight of Swords, of course, is on a horse, but then you have the unicorn too. That are white animals, okay? Because you have, I mean, literally every animal that popped up is a white horse, white unicorn, white polar bears, okay? And then I do want to ask an extra question for you. I've done that for every pile today, but there is another lesson too, like we were saying, with surrender to receiving support and love. In fact, maybe that's what I will draw the extra cards on. I feel like they want to mention that as an extra like life lesson related thing they want you to pay attention to. So I'm going to ask on that. Spirit team for pile 3s, could you give us about 3 extra cards explaining more about what you want them to learn or work with the surrender to receiving support and love message? Thank you. I feel like you nurture other people so much, pile 3s, that you neglect yourself. 8 of Cups, okay, emotionally moving on. Ooh, 5 of Pentacles. I think you're almost self-sacrificial to a fault sometimes, pile number 3s. And it's very good to be giving, and I don't want to, yeah, look at that, 6 of Pentacles, literally, like, as I'm saying it. So pile 3 is part of your message about surrender to receiving support and love has to do with a lesson they're encouraging you to learn regarding being too self-sacrificial, okay? Because we have, yes, the 6 of Pentacles is about charity and fairness and equal distribution of material goods, but being next to the 5 of Pentacles, it almost feels like it's to the point of where you'll put yourself out to make other people's lives better. They want you to learn more about surrendering to receiving support and love, not only in terms of self-love and being kinder to yourself, but also making sure that there's equal give and take, especially with, like the 6 of Pentacles being a card of balance, right? Because she literally has like the Libra balance scales in her hands. Equal balance and distribution of two-way street relationships with other people. Okay, I feel like maybe part of the reason why you've been so independent is you feel like a lot of people tend to just take, okay? And they want you to experience relationships where it is give and take, okay? And so there's something about standing up. I mean, maybe that's part of the lesson, too, of standing up for yourself more in social situations. It also is standing up for yourself more in terms of, I don't want to say being, like, taken advantage of, pile 3s, because I think you give willingly, but at the same time, you need to ask for more from your relationships from other people as well, just so that, because your spirit team really wants you to experience more nurturing relationships from others. And the 8 of Cups here is interesting too, because it's about emotionally moving on. I feel like it's to the point sometimes that you give to the point of hardship of yourself, and then sometimes it can create resentment. And so that would also, or emotional distance maybe is a better word with the 8 of Cups. And so that also would improve feelings like that in relationships if you were to try to focus on making sure there's an equal balance of give and take in them, okay? Because they want to see you nurture yourself more, and they want to see other people nurture you more, okay? And definitely because this is an Akashic record reading, it often feels like that this is, this is maybe a multiple life-related lesson, okay? But this is the incarnation where you're being given a chance to finalize this lesson, it feels like to me. So just pay attention to that. That's kind of the final message from your Akashic Records today. So I believe that is it. Let me just check over everything to make sure. Yes, okay. No more intuitive messages are coming through, so I will leave the reading there. pile number 3 is, as always, I hope you liked the reading. I hope it resonated. If you did, or if it did resonate with you, I should say resonate, present tense with you. There we go. Corrected myself. If it did, okay, please like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel. If you've not done so already, that just helps me out, which helps me provide more readings for both you and others in the future. And as is our tradition on the channel, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next reading, pile number 3s. Bye.